happens if AI generates information that we rely on and it's incorrect?
What are the unique artificial intelligence related risks which are faced by boards in audit and risk committees?
That's a really great question. And when you answer that question, you can obviously go into the detail, okay? You can go into the detail of things like, regulatory risks, compliance risks, data privacy, what about intellectual property? What about ethics? There are many, many questions. And we will certainly drill into the detail a little bit later on. But I think to set the scene, it's also important to understand, what is our committee structure? Risk committees, traditionally, historically, they're very much concerned with, the financial risks, the risks that companies generally encounter, and how can we make sure we are secure from a financial perspective. I think what we need to recognize is that nowadays we're in an era where there are two overarching risks in my mind, and they have to sit above everything else. One is climate-related risks. And I mean, in many parts of the world, we are very acutely impacted. Could be drought, could be flooding, it could be all sorts of things. And that will then trickle down into the financial aspects. And the second one is AI cybersecurity, which I will put together in a second bucket. I really see those two as the overarching risks, and everything else that we have been dealing with as risk committees, also as audit committees, historically sits underneath and can be impacted. So with that being said, we have to understand, how can we ensure that our board composition, our knowledge base at risk level reflects those new priority topics that we have to deal with. And I think before we deal with the detail, we really need to ask ourselves those questions. Do we have the right people on the boards? Maybe we need subcommittees. How do we make sure we have sufficient relevant knowledge? Not everybody needs to be an expert, but we need to be in a position where our committees, our boards have sufficient knowledge to understand, yes, there is a risk. Yes, we're impacted. How do we respond? Where do I search for? Where do I find relevant resources that can be internal, that can be external, depending on an entity? So I think when we look into AI and, cyber risks, technology-related risks, if we want to call them that, we really have to look at a macro level and see, what do our committees and our boards actually look like? To me, that's the first step. What is the status quo? And that's very much where ESG, the G part of ESG, where that really links and has a common sort of ground with AI and technology and what we need to do.